Welcome to Cloud Stories, where your host, Heather Smith, interviews some brilliant minds from the Xero ecosystem and beyond. This show shares stories from our community, developers, cloud integrators, end users, Xero solution providers, business consultants, accountants, bookkeepers, and people riding the cloud. Together we gain a 360-degree insight into this evolving phenomenon. We pick up tips, tools, and tactics from stories shared. We understand where the pieces of the puzzles fall into place, and in turn we can propel our business to the next level. Now here's your host, the very curious Miss Heather Smith.
Today I'm interviewing the CEO and co-founder of TradeGecko, Cameron Priest. TradeGecko is a world-class inventory, order and supply chain management platform with a comprehensive suite of functionalities packaged together in an intuitive, cloud-based interface, designed and structured user-first from the ground up. Expertly manage your inventory as you save time, eliminate errors and streamline your sales channels, synchronized across all your stakeholders in real time. But before I hand over to the interview, yes, it has been a little while since I last uploaded the last show. Life doesn't always go as expected. Even though I did have the flu jab, I was ill for a week, then I got better for a week, and then I was ill for 2 weeks. So I kind of got quite overwhelmed with work and catching up. But pleased to be back here on the show, and I will tell you at the end of the show who I've got lined up for the next several interviews, which is I'm quite excited about. But over to Cameron Priest. So welcome, Cameron, to the show. Thank you very much for being here. Cameron, the first question I'd like to ask you is, what did you like to do when you were 12 years old?
Well, I grew up on a kiwi fruit orchard in New Zealand, so a big part of my life was exploring and, building go-karts with my brothers, building things with my father. So kind of creating things was a big part of being 12 and kind of exploring the property.
Wow. That's amazing, growing up in a kiwi fruit orchard. That sounds like the quintessential New Zealand dream, doesn't it?
I feel like it's the butt of every New Zealand joke, because we had kiwi fruit and we had sheep. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, you mentioned the sheep, so. But no, that's sensational. Was it like a big orchard?
Yeah, it was a large kiwi fruit producing orchard. It's not massive, but it was my father's full-time job was managing the orchard, so it wasn't insubstantial.
Wow.
But they're still doing that today, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, you've come so far from kiwi fruits to this. I'm surprised you're not, your business's name's not Kiwi Gecko or something like that, Kiwi Fruit Gecko. So how did a guy from Auckland end up in Singapore as a CEO of TradeGecko?
Yeah, well, I'd had a business doing development of iPhone and web applications for third parties, so client-based kind of web design agency. And we had some customers who were kind of having the issue that we now are trying to solve with TradeGecko, which was managing the entire back end of their businesses, be them wholesale or retail businesses. And I'd been searching and looking and kind of struggling to start a business that kind of, I guess the theory was always a business that made money while you sleep. That's always the end goal for everyone, isn't it? So
yes.
This to me was a great opportunity, and the more I looked, the bigger the opportunity seemed. And yeah, for us, the move from Auckland to Singapore was just access to capital, access to international markets. And I guess just a shake-up. It's very easy to be very complacent in New Zealand. It's beautiful and it's slow and it's easy to have a really good lifestyle, but it kind of a way to kick my own butt was getting out of my comfort zone.
Oh, that's interesting. So are you the founder of TradeGecko?
Yeah, so there's 3 co-founders. There's myself and Carl Thompson, who moved over to Singapore, and then I actually poached my older brother, who's a great engineer, a couple of months later to head up our product team.
I did notice some other priests on
We've actually recently hired the youngest priest as well. He's a great engineer.
Sensational. Another, it does seem a lot of the add-on solutions are a family entity or exercise, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how many staff do you have based in your Singaporean office?
In Singapore, we've got 29.
Wow, that's a lot. And do you have staff based elsewhere?
Yes, we have a team in Manila in the Philippines, and we've just opened up an office in San Francisco as well.
Wow, so you're growing rapidly because how old's the business? That's only about 2 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, just over 2 years. So we've quadrupled since last November, which is scary, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. It's amazing. That's amazing growth you've got there. So, based on what you're saying there, let me ask you, I'm just going to jump ahead and ask you another question. On your LinkedIn profile, you use the phrase, "We give the power of Walmart's supply chain management to SMEs." Mm-hmm. So where are your customers coming from, and are you targeting the US market? Because obviously Australians don't know Walmart. I'm presuming New Zealand doesn't have Walmart, so it was a very American phrase for me sitting there in LinkedIn.
You make a very good point, and I hadn't thought about that point of view. We do target the US. To be honest, the US and Australia are our two largest markets. In terms of the Walmart phrase, that's actually kind of a positioning statement we've used when fundraising, and I guess I internalized it and have been using it in marketing materials, and perhaps isn't the most targeted for the Australian or New Zealand markets, but that was kind of the theory. Australia is a big market, but US is now overtaken them as our largest market nowadays.
Well, that's sensational. So how are you approaching the American markets? Because it's such a huge market to crack. How are you approaching that?
With trepidation. Effectively, with us, and obviously part of this conversation is the partnership with Xero and Shopify were the first real partnerships that started us getting customers. And so in Australia and New Zealand, we've really been able to grow, to kind of ride the coattails of Xero.
Yes.
And Xero obviously isn't dominant in the US, although I'm sure we all hope, and I'm sure Rod really hopes it does become so in the future.
Yes.
But it does mean that we're kind of facing an uphill battle in terms of the way we kind of enter that market. Completely honestly, we don't know everything about what our strategy is going to be to enter that market because it is such a different kettle of fish. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, no, it is. And so are you seeing movement into the UK market?
UK is our 7th biggest country. US is big, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, of course. Singapore is surprisingly large for us, being based here, but still it's a surprisingly small country and surprisingly large number of customers. Mm-hmm. I guess your classic Western English-speaking markets are our largest markets, but then we're everywhere to the Republic of Congo, Mexico, South Africa, some very, very, 86 countries. It's crazy the places that are using our software.
Because I imagine that you have an inventory-based software. I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that compliance and legislation doesn't necessarily affect you, in that it would be the same for inventory-based software no matter where you are.
Exactly. There are always going to be little things. The alcohol tax in Australia, the wet tax is actually, a difficult issue that we've had to tackle, and we might not have the issue in other countries. And to your point, the US still has a very complicated sales tax regime that we need to kind of work with.
So that comes from within your solution rather than within the point-of-sale solution.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So how would you describe the Asia-Pacific, Singapore, Southeast Asia startup scene?
It's burgeoning. Singapore has had a lot of money injected into it from the Singaporean government. In fact, our first round of financing, our investors put in $89,000 and the government put $500,000 in.
Wow.
So that you just don't get that sort of thing in New Zealand, and you have some similar schemes in Australia, but they're actually getting phased out, not in. Yeah. So we just have this opportunity here, which the Singaporean government has grasped to really invest, not in substantial money, but we're still talking kind of $30-50 million, which to a government is very little, but to, that's 100 different startups that can come to Singapore and start in Singapore. And they're really, really trying to foster a technology economy in Singapore. Southeast Asia is growing as well, but Singapore is definitely the hub.
So are any of your founders, and excuse me, you may have mentioned this, are any of your founders Singaporean nationals?
We're all Kiwis.
Yes, you're all Kiwis. Okay. Well, that's really interesting, isn't it? That I'm actually prepared to fund you so much coming over there. That's amazing. But I guess you've employed a lot of people there in Singapore?
Definitely a lot of Singaporeans here as well.
Yeah, so I know when I lived in Singapore, I was on a very nice salary there, and I never used to get taxed. And I remember going down to the Singaporean tax office and putting all my stuff out, and I said, "You've just got to tax me. There's something wrong. You've got to tax me." And they looked at it and they just said, "No, you don't earn enough money."
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just like, what's going on here? This is crazy. Yeah, so it's an amazing place, amazing ecosystem to live. So that's really interesting. So do you think Asia is a market that other add-on solutions should be looking to move to and to base themselves there?
I think it's a premature step to take it too early. I mean, effectively, the Western markets, Australia, the US, Canada, they adopt a lot faster. We see that. I mean, we are here and we obviously have a big story about Asia. Even saying that, we're still seeing the fastest adoption from the Western markets.
Yes.
We are probably getting customers in the Philippines and Malaysia that we wouldn't have otherwise. And we have some very large customers, multi-$1,000 a month clients that we wouldn't have been able to capture if we weren't here. But I do not think you need to be here for your first 10,000 customers.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But it's something perhaps they can look at down the line, because it wouldn't be the first place I would have thought of setting up a head office there, unless I wanted some great food and great travel access points, which is what Singapore is very well known for.
Well, for us, one thing I would say is that Singapore and Hong Kong especially are just logistic hubs. So for us, where we focus on the industries we work with, it's got its own, we've got our own reasons for being here, and those wouldn't be true for a lot of other add-ons, but they are true for us.
Okay, fair enough. So Singapore has 4 official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin and Tamil. How do you deal with so many different languages in Asia, both from a business perspective and from a software solution perspective?
Well, firstly, we're very lucky that everyone in Singapore's first language is English, so that's never been an issue for us in that regard. But obviously, as you exit Singapore, there's a lot less of that. There's a lot of the local languages. And so to kind of work with that, we do have a very multicultural and a very, what you'd think of as a melting pot in terms of our team and in terms of the different languages. We Aussies and Kiwis are the odd ones out with our one language of English. Most countries in the world, they have 3, 4, 5 languages if they're lucky. So a lot of our team do speak multiple languages. Yes. And as we're growing our support and sales teams around the region and around the globe, we are looking for multilingual support and salespeople. And I think that's kind of the only way you can tackle it, because whilst a lot of people can speak English, they still like to spend their time, their days in what they're comfortable with, which is the language that they grew up in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how difficult is it for a software solution to overlay a different language across the solution?
Technically, not that difficult. The difficult part is the supporting and, the documentation. It's converting everything. But actually, if you look at a piece of software like TradeGecko or Xero or any other add-on, we're probably talking of a dictionary of less than a couple of thousand words that need to be translated into, a dozen different languages. And there are third-party providers that will do that and maintain and keep that up to date for you for quite a low cost. But for us, that's not the issue. It's the selling, it's the marketing, it's the positioning, it's the different brand images, it's the different cultural disconnects that become quite difficult.
Okay, that's interesting. So TradeGecko has one of the best onboarding platforms that I've ever used or seen. And for the people listening, I've tried a lot of them out there. So what is it? How did you develop it? What are you using? Maybe just share with our audience what you're happy to share about your onboarding training. Of course.
I mean, I think the one thing we really think about, and we probably don't think about it enough, is trying to really understand what is the wow moment for a new user.
Yes.
And so what we want to do is we want to get our customers to wow as soon as possible. And I'm sure we don't get that for everyone, but we're trying to get as many people to understand and see how good their business could be with our solution as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of driven our focus on really developing a really smooth onboarding, hopefully showing them the different pieces of what we do and how we can help them. And I guess that's just a really big focus of mine. And because it's so important to me, that obviously affects everyone's in the organization. And we have some great designers who spend a lot of time thinking, interviewing customers, going out to visit customers, seeing what their day-to-day looks like, and really understanding and making sure that we are building the right thing effectively.
Yeah. So what I really liked was when I went into TradeGecko and started up, it seemed like a sort of a slither or a pane came across, and it told me to go and set up a customer and suggested I went here and clicked on this and did that. And then another pane came across, and they were all quite colourful, beautiful panes, and they came across and they just kept telling me how to do. So that was something that you inbuilt into the solution?
Yeah, we developed that in-house. I mean, effectively, we believe the wow is important. The other thing is you want people to understand what we do and don't do as fast as possible. Otherwise, so they can identify, is this for me or is this not for me? And that's kind of why we built the beautiful kind of show them as much of the product, but not too much, as fast as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I always say to people, look, if you've got 90 minutes spare, go and sit down and go through that introduction process on TradeGecko, because you just get a real good understanding on A, how an inventory solution should work, and B, how your particular inventory solution works. Because for us as advisors, it's so difficult to learn all these new solutions out there. Especially, I think we're sort of hitting 300 out there, and we don't have the time to sit down. But when there's something fast, easy, beautiful, and you could almost probably watch House of Cards while you're doing it, like at the same time. Like, it's so simple to go through. It's like a game, I guess. And I know that seems to be one of the things that some of the software developers are doing, is building sort of that gaming type of thing into the solution.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest challenges a Kiwi guy faces doing business in Singapore?
So the biggest issue that we've had, and it's probably not being a Kiwi guy in Singapore, it's being anyone starting a company that's growing so fast. It's kind of being introspective and being able to learn to work with a huge array of cultures, a huge array of personalities, and learning how to work with. I mean, it's just something you don't get taught. And I think unless you've had experience, you kind of have to make it up as you go. And I think I'm very honest in saying that I don't really know what I'm doing. I hope I know a little bit more than I did a month ago, and I definitely know a lot more than I did 12 months ago. But I'm sure I'll know a lot more in 12 months than I do right now. And I think that's probably the most important thing, and the hardest thing for me has been understanding different temperaments, different cultures, different people.
And that probably is more because you're situated in Singapore perhaps than being in other places. Do you find, when I was there, I found the Singaporeans very welcoming of the expats. Do you find yourself very welcomed there?
Very much so. I mean, some of our best employees are obviously local guys and girls, and they're just fantastic. Yeah. They have a really good work ethic, and they have a great education system here, so that really helps us, obviously, with our hires.
Yeah, no, absolutely, completely agree. So 5 major trends have dominated the Silicon Valley recently in the last 100 years: electronic tools, semiconductors, enterprise, telecom and consumer. A 6th trend is emerging, which venture capitalist Joe Lonsdale of Formation 8 has coined the smart enterprise. How would you describe the smart enterprise software wave that Lonsdale is referring to?
Yeah, I guess this is exactly what we are trying to tackle, and a lot of the other cloud-based solution providers are trying to tackle. And it's today you can build online inventory management software, and that's fine, and that's good, and it's pretty, and it's easy to use. But what we really want to do is we want to not just give you a tool to run your business, we want to give you the ability to make decisions and have insights. And the smart enterprise wave is kind of this discussion that as we kind of move everything online, there's just this huge amount of data. And we don't just, process sales and manage inventory. We can also see things in our business and within our industries that we can make decisions that can affect things like not just forecasting, but, global trends. And that's what the smart enterprise software wave gives us. It's that big data access, the ability to make decisions, to kind of couple really easy to use analytical software with smart people, to do things that previously could only have been done by a team of scientists probably working in Excel for quite a few months. But being able to bring that data and those insights to the fray very easily at a click of a button, and we're not there yet, and globally, but I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, just the decision making power that a small business owner will have, which previously you'd have to pay SAP $100 million to get, is just going to be fascinating, and that's really what we're trying to help do.
So I think you've answered this, but how can the other software development companies listening in leverage off this smart enterprise software wave? Should they be looking towards this analytical dashboards that you're suggesting?
I mean, it's very easy to think about it as a dashboard, but the way I try and think about it is, if you can imagine the life of your user, and in our case, you probably have some guys in a warehouse, some guys in an office, maybe some sales reps on the road, the guy, the CEO, and maybe the financial controller. There's all these different people, and they have all these really important decisions to make every day. And so instead of them having to think, what do I need to do my job, as a software provider, we can actually bring to the surface the right information that they need to make a decision, and to actually tell them, maybe not make the decision for them, but to at least kind of really point them in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And I think you can only work that out by really understanding the day-to-day life of each of your product's users, and really thinking about what really impacts their day-to-day, their weeks, their months, their planning for the year. I guess that's kind of what we really try and do, and I'm not saying we're perfect at it, but really thinking holistically about your customers. And I mean, best case scenario, you go and work, in a customer's work for a couple of days, or, immerse yourself in their life to really understand where you can help them with data.
Yeah. It's very difficult, I imagine, because your solution, while is inventory, is probably being used by so many vastly different bespoke companies and trying to adapt to everything that's out there that's using you.
Exactly, but you can probably think, no company wants to sell less products. No company wants to have worse relationships with their suppliers. So you can kind of go, okay, every company in the world would like more customers, would like better relationships. They'd like more advanced forecasting. They'd like to know more clearly what their profit margins are. So I think there's some kind of general rules you can probably make, which you can really help these guys answer in a way that, that CEO that used to have to sit down for 2 weeks to do kind of Excel spreadsheets to understand the last 12 months of his business, he doesn't have to do that anymore. Yeah. He can press a button. And as long as you make we understand what the right questions those people should be asking, I think we can kind of really help these guys grow their businesses, and of course grow our own businesses by doing that for them.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Thank you for that, Cameron. So TradeGecko's pricing is in US dollars. Why did you make this decision?
Again, it's the Singapore thing. So being in Singapore, we had to choose our currency. It didn't make sense to do it in Singapore dollars. Ultimately, there was also a bit of a technical decision there, because we couldn't do it in too many currencies. And so US dollars was just kind of the sane default in the global software as a service space. In the future, we may do regional pricing. To be honest, to do that, we will need to, change the way that we bill. But at this stage, again, I was just thinking globally, US dollars is identifiable by everyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the thought. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, how many customers do you need to look at, or do you need to onboard to generate $1 million US a year? What sort of are you looking at for that?
Each additional $1 million. So we would be looking at, if we look at our current revenue, every kind of 600 customers would give us US dollars $1 million ARR in revenue. At this stage, we're actually in a very nice position at this stage where we're actually reducing the number of customers we need as we start to bring on larger and larger clients.
That's interesting. That's exciting for you.
Yes, very much so.
So how many, if you're bringing on these larger clients, how many maximum transactions can you deal with a month?
In terms of these, so we work with some very interesting clients. So the biggest automotive parts supplier in Europe, Xero, and they're doing somewhere upwards of 1,800 sales a day through our system.
Oh, okay. So,
admittedly,
that's amazing.
They've done some custom integration into their custom e-commerce store, so they're not taking advantage of every piece of what we do. But nothing really limits us there. I think, in our opinion, the limitation then becomes the workflow. It becomes very difficult to pack 1,800 items. We're talking about having a proper warehouse management system. And that's something we're really trying to improve at all times, is to cater to these bigger guys doing these larger numbers.
Excellent. No, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So what have been some of the key successes of TradeGecko?
So, really important, that first customer that wasn't a friend or family member. So that was really, really good for us. I don't know why. There's just something about that first dollar you earn.
How many friends and family members did you have that needed an inventory solution?
Well, because one of my co-founders was in the fashion industry, it wasn't insignificant. I think we had our first kind of 11 customers, 7 of which were friends and family. But that's kind of changed now, obviously. So what are those significant milestones? I mean, getting to where we are today, I don't know why, but each hire we make, it's significant to us because this is another person who's depending on you for their livelihood.
Absolutely.
So that's a big one. Opening up the team in the Philippines was big because we hired some really high-quality people there to help us with product and sales. And when you're hiring people that have kids and, have got stable jobs and they're joining you, you realize the responsibility. So that was a big one personally for myself.
Yeah, amazing. Yes. So one of the things that you released maybe it was about 6 or 8 weeks ago, was a beautiful infographic of inventory, the inventory workflow. How was that received?
Surprisingly well. I can be completely honest, I wasn't that involved with it. We have a great, one of our marketing team members, Clara, was kind of running the show on that one.
Yes, Clara Lou, was that right? Clara Lou.
She's, surprisingly well. So it's been picked up by a lot of different people, and it's kind of fomented some really interesting discussions, especially with some of our customers. It's great when you have a customer come on board who says, they saw that inventory thing, they finally understood something, and then they started to think, okay, well, if this is what you can do to help us, then I want him, which I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical about, but they've proven me wrong, which I'm always happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Some people only think visually. It's interesting because some people are like, I didn't get that until you drew a picture of it. So I'll include the infographic in the show notes for people to have a look at. And the concept is you actually share it, isn't it? That's the concept.
Of course. That's the concept, yeah.
And I noticed that when you shared it, so other people whom I have seen have infographics, they actually have it all linking back to your site. And I noticed you didn't have a direct link back to your site with the sharing of it, but maybe that was just because it was the first time.
We've had some people linking back to it. I know some people can be very aggressive about that. I mean, end of the day, if someone doesn't want to link back to us and they want to share, I don't have any problem with that. I mean, if we were doing everything just to get link backs, we'd be kind of probably creating quite sad material and output. No,
I certainly think that an infographic as a marketing tool is can be very useful, and for business advisors being able to say, hey, have a look at this. This is what TradeGecko does. Again, it makes our life a little bit easier. And it is an infographic out there for anyone to use. And I actually, because I'm involved with XU magazine, I told Wes we need to put it in the next edition. So, if you were 17-year-old, again, I don't think you're actually very old because from looking at your LinkedIn profile, but if you were 17 years old again and wanted to become the next Cameron Priest, what's the quickest route to get there?
Well, firstly, I'm 27, so 10 years ago. So I think the biggest thing for me was just starting. And I know it sounds very trite, but it's I can remember when I first learned how to build software, and the way I learned was finally I oversold my abilities, and I got a project from a client, and then I had to quickly learn, and I actually wrote my older brother in because he's a lot smarter than I am, to help me build something. And I guess it's very easy to talk about wanting to do something, and very easy to kind of read everything and watch all the videos, but actually kind of committing yourself. And there's a very famous quote about this, but I won't quote it now because it's quite long, but it's about just starting, and when you start, providence moves.
Yes.
Everyone kind of falls into pieces. Everyone starts to help you. Things just align. And things don't always align in the right way, but nothing helps you learn how to start except starting.
Absolutely. So do you think that your university qualification helped you get to that position?
Not at all.
Okay. And so if you were 17 years old again, would you do that again?
At 17, I still needed to grow up a bit, so probably yes. But I mean, I tried to start businesses when I was 17. They weren't in the technology space. I tried all sorts of different things. So I don't begrudge that, but I feel like starting is one thing, and then also being exposed to people who have done it, because some people are very lucky in which their parents are quite successful, and so they understand that the ability to create a business is not that hard, or that you don't need to be super smart or 160 IQ. You just need to do it. But I think for a lot of us, being exposed to people just like us who are successful makes you realize that it's just about hard work. And again, it sounds very trite, but being exposed to those sort of people as young as possible, I think, is very valuable.
So where were you exposed to these sorts of people?
So definitely after I moved to Singapore, but before this, my father is an entrepreneur. I can't say he was a super successful one. He was a great, Kiwi inventor, not a great businessman. I think that definitely exposed me to the ups and the downs of business. But I do see friends who were kind of exposed to very successful business people very young on, and to them the idea of starting a business has always been an obvious and relatively easy endeavour, whereas I think for the majority of the population it's kind of something that's always been a bit out of reach, but it doesn't need to be.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just throwing one more question out there because you might have the answer. If you don't, no worries. If a business person was to go over to Singapore, are there any startup hubs that they should visit that you know of?
Yes, there's one big one. Again, another government organisation has put it together, which is a place called Block 71, and there's probably 400 or 500 different startups there now, and a bunch of venture capitalists. And so it's just BLK 71, and that's just the name of the area, and that's the name of the building. And it's Block 71, and that's where all the technology companies, especially the younger ones, that's where you start in Singapore.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. I'll search that up and put that in the show notes. What suburb is that based in?
That's in Ayer Rajah, and I can ping you the actual address for afterwards.
Okay. Sensational. So thank you so much for speaking with us today, Cameron. I've really enjoyed listening to you and hearing all of your insights about Asia and about TradeGecko. And I'm sure that listeners gained a lot of information from hearing from you as well.
It was my pleasure, Heather. Thank you very much.
I hope you found that interview as interesting as I did. I really obviously enjoyed talking about Singapore, and it's interesting to see that the Singaporean government is fostering a technology hub in Asia. I was always quite impressed with the initiatives of the Singaporean government during their time there. Very interesting. There's just so many things you have to be aware of when you're growing a business on a global scale. Currency, language, time zones. I know from my own experience, I'm kind of up really early in the morning dealing with people, and I can be up really, really late at night dealing with people, just so I can sort of cope with the different time zones that I'm dealing with. Coming up, I'm interviewing Hannah McIntyre from Crunchboards, a dashboard-style reporting solution. And I'm also speaking with Stephen Renwick, who is from Satago, a credit control solution. I'm actually having dinner with the other half of Crunchboards, Amy Harris, on Friday night, which looking forward to. And Stephen Renwick, jumping over to Stephen Renwick, one of the really interesting things he did at XeroCon and kind of has been doing, has been handing out blue sunglasses, which some people have just gone wild on social media for these blue sunglasses. It was an interesting and unique way of gaining ambassadors across the world, handing out blue sunglasses. I'm not sure what the connection between credit control and blue sunglasses is, but we will talk to him about that in the upcoming show. Thank you so much for listening. Please leave a 5-star rating on iTunes if you like the show. And please share the show on social media and with other people who might find it interesting. Thank you.
This show is sponsored by RentalSaaS. RentalSaaS is your end-to-end rental management solution, enabling you to keep track of bookings, hired items, and manage your inventory. RentalSaaS integrates seamlessly with Xero. Contact Siva and his team at rentalsaas.com for further information. If you want to get in contact with Heather Smith, please visit her website at www.heathersmithsmallbusiness.com. If you wish to find out more about XU magazines, contact Heather at au@xumagazine.com. You've been listening to Cloud Stories. If you like this podcast, please download it, share it with friends, share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and social media. And one more thing, can you leave Cloud Stories a 5-star rating on iTunes? Thank you.